Having just read Genesis 8 about the flood receding, verse 13 says, "Finally, when Noah was 601 years old, 10.5 months after the flood began, Noah lifted back the covers to look." So this is a 601-year-old person, 10.5 months after the flood began. So that does suggest that they were indoors for almost a year. When you look back at lockdown, imagine the conditions that would have prevailed at the time in a boat with the world being flooded around. Verse 20 says, "Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and sacrificed on it the animals and birds that had been approved for that purpose." So this speaks to me of gratitude and just generally in life, just being grateful and expressing that gratitude to people around us that in some cases we take for granted, whether that's our family, partners, wife, children. There are lots of people around us that do wonderful things for us on a daily basis, and we've very likely become accustomed to these things and don't necessarily take time out to be grateful. In the verse it says sacrifice, but that speaks of gratitude to me. Thank you for what you've done for me and for my family. And verse 21 goes on to say, this is the Lord speaking, "I will never again curse the earth, destroying all living things, even though people's thoughts and actions are bent towards evil from childhood." So in this case, it's saying that the human ways are bent towards evil from birth, which for me creates a conflict in my mind, because if Noah, as well as everyone else, was bent towards evil from childhood, then how did he become good and find favor in God's sight? So if everyone's bent towards evil from the get-go, how do you then make that U-turn to living what would be deemed a righteous life? It also goes on to say, "As long as the earth remains, there will be springtime and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, night and day." So these seasons, will continue to prevail. Never again would we just have rain like all through the year. And we've seen that in the past few years. There is the question of climate change. But I suppose if one were to hold fast to verse 22, the seasons will prevail, but we should look after the earth to do the very best we can to keep things as they were intended. So this one for me is more of a segue into the next chapter, where God makes a covenant with Noah, which looks like it's going to be very interesting.